Hello, everyone, and welcome to an episode of The Crowded Booth Live. Bryce Kuhn and Ralph Leary here with you on a fantastic Wednesday evening. Ralph, we just had a pub sub. Our question of the day has to do with some food. We hadn't had a question today in a while.
Yeah, it feels like it's been a while, actually. I don't even remember what the last one was, actually.
It's been a hot minute, that's for sure. Hey, we're going to talk about some great topics today, but first off, I want you to follow us on social media at The Crowded Booth, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. You can also find us over on our YouTube page. We're posting some Crowded Booth shorts. We got a podcast that will come out this Friday. And Ralph, I know we're going to talk about it tonight, but it might even beg the question if we can get a guest on that we really feel like could be a good one of diving more and more into this Major League Baseball crackdown of foreign substances. But the two topics of conversation tonight are, first off, we are going to start with that MLB crackdown, and then we're going to flip over at around 8:30 tonight. The Eastern Conference Finals will tip off. We talked a little bit about it and what we thought about Atlanta's win in Game 7 over Philly. Now we turn our attention to the Eastern Conference Finals starting tonight against the Milwaukee Bucks. So, Ralph, first off, we got to start with the question of the day. I got it right here for you right here. Best breakfast item. I'll let you go first. To me, it's a no-brainer, but go ahead.
I mean, I can go a lot of different ways. My dad makes some mean breakfast, honestly. I have to go with his grits, though. Grits and a fried egg on top is too hard. It's hard to beat for me. Easily every Saturday morning, when it's like, especially when it's in wintertime, a warm bowl of grits and a fried egg is just the hardest duo for me to beat.
I'm going to have to disagree with you. Just the sole fact that bacon is one of the greatest creations ever made on earth. And so I'm going, if it's the best one singular breakfast item, I'm going to go with bacon. So I'm going bacon is probably, to me, Ralph, and there's nothing that bacon doesn't go well with.
Oh, I mean, 100%. I mean, you can put bacon on bacon. You ever seen bacon wrapped pork? You know,
I've seen bacon wrapped pork.
Exactly.
Hey, sprinkle some bacon in your grits.
Oh, I do. Don't worry. We throw bacon in there all the time.
Hey, don't tempt you with a good time, right? Am I right?
With a good time. I'll do it twice.
That's good. Best breakfast item. We want to hear if you're watching. What's your favorite breakfast item? Also, to me, the go-to is pancakes and bacon. Like, you give me that right there with some syrup. As long as I don't as long as I hopefully don't don't spill it everywhere. Like we have a little inside joke. Josh Brown, eggs over bacon. Josh, how do you eat your eggs? That's what we want to know. Ralph, how do you eat your eggs?
I like mine in a way. I mean, I just scrambled fried egg. If you know what a fried egg is, it's just the best way to eat one. I guess you would say it's over easy or over medium. I think it's what the practical word, over easy. What Josh said. Solid choice. I completely agree with Josh. I like my eggs runny, so either way.
Are you a fried egg on a burger kind of guy?
Oh yeah, any day of the week. Give me that one.
Okay. All right. Josh Brown is in complete agreement. That means that one day Josh is going to have to cook breakfast for you.
Last week, Monday he wasn't agreeing with me at all with some of my statements. So
statements. He blasted you on social media. And now he's excited. Hey, it's okay though. He's got that little blue check mark next to his name, so he's official. But hey, let's go ahead and jump into the crackdown of Major League Baseball. Josh, we appreciate you tuning in. If you're watching, make sure to let us know in the comments below. Listen, the early reviews, Ralph, of Major League Baseball's crackdown on this foreign substance policy. I think the biggest thing, as we have a comment, Josh does not agree with the fried egg on a burger. That's going a bit too far, so now he will not cook breakfast for you. But going back to the Major League Baseball crackdown, we kind of gave our thoughts on this early this week, last week as well. And so I just kind of want to, state our opinions and kind of just, how we feel about the situation. And I think, I think that Major League Baseball stepped a little too far and banning everything. It was, I think there's a big difference in the data and all these different things, all these data points that you can look at of the difference between spider tack and this glue adhesive-like substance, and then bullfrog sunscreen, sweat, and rosin. There's a difference there. And you're giving these guys the ability to use these. I mean, Ralph, it's not like that they're not going to sweat and there's not going to be rosin. I mean, your rosin is made available by Major League Baseball on the back of the mound. So that brings up the question. Obviously, the early reviews, it kicked off this Monday with this. We saw the first official check was actually the Braves game. They had a doubleheader on Monday against the Mets. And I'll say, I don't think it would have mattered because Jacob Degrom's just that good. I think he's just that good. But we've seen some of this stuff. We're going to talk a little bit about some of these, guys. Scherzer, Sergio Romo last night. I mean, that was an interesting one to kind of look at. But for you, I mean, what is your consensus on how you feel about the whole subject?
Well, I feel like if you're going to, check one pitcher, check them at the beginning of the game, middle of the game, or toward the end of the game. But don't check them multiple times. I feel like you check more and more you check them, it's just getting out of hand. And it's just kind of, especially like last night with Scherzer. I mean, Scherzer he's one of the best pitchers we've seen in our lifetime. Hall of Famer, obviously. He's gonna be one of the best pitchers we've seen. Mad Dog Max is his perfect term for him. And when you show the picture later, you'll see what I mean by Mad Dog Max. He's not happy when you stop his game. When you stop him mid-game, mid-inning to check him again and again, he's gonna get angry. And what I don't understand is they're checking the inside of the belt. So these players got to take their belt off in the middle of the game. Like that's just taking it too far. You saw Sergio Romo last night grab take his belt off and almost drop his pants off middle of the game. I'm like, that's just it's comedy for us, but these pitchers have to deal with this every game. And I think I remember seeing a tweet last night. The players are not, don't be mad at the umpires. Be mad at people who are cheating for this to happen.
Yeah.
I completely agree. The umpires are doing what they're told to do. Now they're doing way too often. And obviously Rob Manfred said what he said, and we'll talk about it in a minute. But I still think it's too much to do it multiple times a game. And if a coach is telling an umpire, hey, he is checking, you need to check him soon or check him in the next inning, and they're wrong, I think that should be, you can't challenge. You lose a challenge or something like that. Because that's the same thing with, college football and NFL. If you challenge something and you're wrong, you lose a challenge or you lose your timeout. Obviously you don't have timeouts, but, you lose that challenge. It's a lot of things that need to be fixed about it.
There's a lot of things. Let's get to some comments here before I give my thoughts. Josh brings up a great point. And Josh Brown, I mean, he's obviously, guys, this comment completely takes away our entire face, Ralph. But I think, let's see. But Manfred has put the players in a position where they are going to have to give something up just to get back where they already have their CBA. Cornell, high school. All this being said, the timing of it is silly. However, it creates drama, and Daddy loves drama. But in all seriousness, what he has done, obviously the CBA, we talked about this on the show the other day. This is something that's very interesting because now the players are going to be fighting for something that they already had instead of advancing the game where they wanted to. And so some of the things they're going to have to give up, let's say maybe it's some salary stuff, maybe it's more off days, a shorter season, something like that. They can't negotiate that because now they got to work from behind. And so Josh has been putting that out there on Twitter. I know he's got his own podcast as well that he's Baseballology, that he's kind of talked about some of this stuff. And so I think it's a great point to bring up. AJ Ingram, appreciate you tuning over on Facebook. He thinks 2 times a game. I think, AJ, I was listening to a podcast today, David O'Brien over on the 755 is Real podcast, and he talked to Ian Anderson post-game, specifically for the Braves. They did it in the first inning, and then they did it again in about the 4th or the 5th. After that, the question is going to remain: what do you do with the relievers? Every single time they come out of the bullpen, you check them. I think the frustrating part is it's just for the players aspect of it. Ian Anderson, he said, it's just going to have something you get, you're going to have to get used to, and I get that. But I think Major League Baseball went too far in saying we're banning everything across the board. And I'll tell you this too: Garrett Cole, who I think we can all safely say was using spider tack, Garrett Cole in this situation, you were going to see a difference in those numbers. Obviously, Charlie Morton, a guy that was kind of closely linked with some of these things back in 2018 with Houston, with his renaissance of becoming that elite level pitcher. I mean, Ralph, he shoved last night. 11 strikeouts, 7 innings, shutout ball, a 1-hitter against a Mets team that was a pivotal game for Atlanta. So I think some of the guys that were using a little bit of stuff or maybe using just something very minuscule, you're not going to see the numbers change that much. But some of the I'll say the guys who are pitching in the elite level, aka Garrett Cole, that's where you're going to see the biggest change. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I mean, I think we saw what Garrett Cole did against I'm going to say was it Minnesota. It was like his first start since he got called out, and it might not have been Minnesota. It might have been a start before that. He was at home and he struggled. He got knocked around. He gave up, I think, 3 home runs, and it was a lot different than Garrett Cole we're used to seeing. And you saw those numbers drop for his spin rate, his velocity, everything changed because he had to change his game. And same with Tyler Glass now when he had to change his game. Tyler Glass still pitched a great game his first time not using anything, but now he's hurt and he's out for the year more than likely.
Yeah.
So that's where you play the difference. That is guys who've worked their craft. Charlie Morton, Tyler Glass now, Trevor Bauer worked their craft. Guys who didn't really, who just took a giant leap in 1 year. Garrett Cole, one of those. I mean, there's probably more examples I can go through, but Garrett Cole's the main one. We've all been talking about Garrett Cole lately. But his numbers changed in spin rate, velocity, and just control in one season, and no one really took advantage of not looking at that. So,
and I think too, what you're going to see is no one's going to want to get caught now. To me, you're stupid. If you get caught now, you're dumb. And 2, if you've had a good, let's say, past 2 or 3 years, and you get caught now, that's going to be something that could keep guys out of a potential Hall of Fame case. I mean, that really could, because you're seeing guys who it would no longer be validated of what they're able to do. We talked to you specifically. You brought it up right before the show. I want you to get your thoughts on this because you did point out the battle between Rob Manfred. Josh already pointed it out in the comments. Rob Manfred and this Max Scherzer incident of last night. So, Ralph, it was something, you see the picture right here. The umpire rubbed his hands through Scherzer's head. Like, I don't think people were like, it was very weird. And so, Ralph, you had the quote of what Scherzer had kind of said and then Manfred's response. But go ahead and give that to us.
Well, Manfred, I understand the incident in Philadelphia was less than ideal, but that was one incident. And we expect that we will continue as a vast majority of cases so far without any kind of that incident. Now, I just want to say one thing about this. Max Scherzer got checked after the first inning. He was already frustrated with it because, you're slowing him. He's off his game now. He's got to take it. You got to untuck your jersey. You got to take your belt off. Everything's got to change. And then you go out there in middle of the inning, stop him. And I think Zach put the comment in there. If you go to Zach's comment, it's a perfect example. Is to stop a team's his momentum. No, Max Scherzer is a sweaty guy. If you ever watch him pitch and he gets into the game, he is drenched. There's no way that man has anything in his hair. For one, he's. I mean, I know for a fact if I'm pitching, there's no way I'm keeping anything in my hair. It's just going to fall out. I sweat too much. But if you see this picture right here, Max Scherzer is just fed up with this. His managers out there, they're checking in the second time. First time they'll just toss his hat and his glove to the umpire. If you're getting checked more than once a game, I think it's gone too far.
Yeah, if you get checked more than once a game, and I think, too, what was frustrating is Joe Girardi, the manager for the Phillies in last night's contest, Nationals and Phillies were playing each other. He egged it on. And, 2, Joe Girardi was a little bit, I would say, immature about the entire situation, almost trying to want to fight one of the bench coaches that he was formerly with who's now with Washington. But this whole situation, Ralph, and like Josh said, it's all going to come to a head. And I think we're talking about this. But this specific issue, what the problem is going to become a back burner when we get to the end of the CBA. And we're just going to be hoping that we can get the players back on the field come 2022. I mean, I think there's some real doubt there's a lot of issues just beyond this. This just kind of adds more fuel to the fire.
Yeah, and Manfred is the face of all this, if we think about it. Obviously, we say Garrett Cole and Trevor Bauer always bickering, not really to each other, but about each other. And, Rob Manfred is just sitting in the middle of this whole storm and just controlling it one by one, making it worse, I feel like. And, him banning all substances for pitchers, it's not fair. I mean, so can batters still use pine tar? I mean, it's the same thing. If he can use pine tar, I should be able to use pine tar. And if they're using steroids, I should use steroids. I mean, I've listened to many podcasts about it. I've heard different views of it. I've even heard former professional players' views about it, and they all agree this is the worst thing for baseball, is for having these checks. Now, obviously, spider tack is one thing I understand, and Scherzer said, I understand that there's a problem with spider tack, and we've got to get that out of the way, but I also think there's a way to handle this a better way.
Yeah, I think like what you said, hit the nail right on the head. They did not handle it in the right way. Major League Baseball probably went too far, and now they've eliminated everything. And I'll even say this too, talking with some people who are kind of in the medical field a little bit, there is the idea of what Tyler Glasnow was saying is very real. It's not even an, I would say, and excuse me, it's not even an idea. It's a fact. When you have to grip the ball harder, you're literally putting more stress on the inside of your elbow, right where that UCL is. So it'd be interesting to see how this goes. Hey, listen, we appreciate you watching. We're going to head to commercial real quick. When we come back, we're going to talk the Eastern Conference Finals. Milwaukee and, yes, your Atlanta Hawks are going to be facing off tonight, 8:30 for the Eastern Conference Finals. 4 games away, folks. 4 wins away, I should say, from an NBA Finals appearance, which will be the first in franchise history. When we come back, we'll be talking about that, and Ralph is going to take a look at – we're going to take a look at the matchups, Ralph. We're going to see how these two teams match up, how they do, because it certainly, I think, might be a little bit closer than the average I expect when we come back.
Cook's Place began serving our signature hot dogs in 1985 from a cart on Broadway. We still serve the best hot dogs and scrambled dogs in town at the corner of Moon and Miller Road and at the landings. Our friendly staff won't let you leave hungry. Come in and eat to the beat with our 50s jukebox. Cook's Place, fast service, great people, awesome food. What are you waiting for?
We're back here on the Crowded Booth. We thank you for tuning in here on a Wednesday evening. Make sure if you're not already following us on all social media, that is Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. We'll catch you over there. If you're watching over on YouTube, I know we have a couple viewers over there that are tuning in. If you're on Twitter or if you're on Facebook, we appreciate you watching on all those platforms. And make sure to hit those notification button so you can see where we are. Ralph, we've already talked about baseball. We're going to flip over to the court, where I don't think many of us thought that the Atlanta Hawks will be playing this far into the summer, but they indeed are. June 23rd, they're playing in the Eastern Conference Finals for the second time in franchise history, and also said it's the second time in the last 10 years. So I think it's a fun time to be an Atlanta Hawks fan. Yeah. But this right here, Ralph, I mean, we've talked about it, and we alluded to it a little bit, but I wanted to save it for tonight's show. The battle between the Milwaukee Bucks and the Atlanta Hawks. I think it's safe to say this will be the toughest opponent Atlanta has faced to date for obvious reason in the postseason. But we've also talked about it. Atlanta, they are very confident. They're young. And I think also what they don't know hasn't hurt them yet. They're kind of naive, and it's kind of helped them. So when you just take a first glance at this, maybe what are some storylines that stick out to you, some maybe key moments? We'll talk about matchups, but what are some key things that stand out to you about this series?
Well, I mean, obviously you have the Hawks being the young dogs here coming in, being a 4 seed or 5 seed coming in, having a chance. These guys' first chance of a finals appearance for everyone on this team except for I think Lou Williams is the only one who's made it to the finals, I believe.
I think Lou Williams has, yes.
And then you also on the other side, Giannis is his first chance for a finals appearance too. Mm-hmm. One of the young superstars of the league right now who has been so dominant over the past few years, and everyone's saying, he's not going to win one in Milwaukee. If he does, it'll be a joke of a season for whoever loses to them in the finals. There's a lot of big storylines here. And I think, one to me is just how Trae Young has shown everyone how good he really is.
Yeah.
And I remember seeing someone saying after the first 2 games of the Knicks series and said, Trae Young has accepted the role as a villain this year. And I love it.
He has, yeah.
And people are going to hate him, obviously, because you're a sports fan. You hate someone who's beating you. But Trae Young accepts everything coming his way right now. He loves it. He loves the attention. He loves the adrenaline. And if you're booing him, he's going to hit a 3 at half court and just shut the whole crowd up. So be prepared for that tonight. Or, tomorrow night and next few days. Yeah,
it's going to be a fun series. There's no doubt about it. I've got this for you, Ralph. We're going to go back into the time machine. And way before Giannis and Trae Young arrived on the scene, ISO Joe, Joe Johnson, and Brandon Jennings led their respective teams to a 2010 clash in the playoffs. It went the distance. Milwaukee held a 3-2 series lead with 2 chances to close it out. But the 2010 Sixth Man of the Year, Jamal Crawford, led 2 consecutive wins to move the Hawks past and the Bucks in the first round to the second round. But you look at like you said, Ralph, Giannis and this upstart, or I should say this now veteran Milwaukee team, everyone's in their prime, and the upstart Atlanta Hawks, not much materialized for them. Milwaukee just made the playoffs twice over the next 6 years and then was taken out in the first round after that 2010 year. And then Atlanta was swept by the Magic that year. Yes, that Orlando Magic team that went to the NBA Finals with Dwight Howard. And then obviously they had the 2015 year, but both of these teams feel like they have the talent.
Mm-hmm.
I would say this: the pressure is on for Giannis and Mike Budenholzer, the coach. Atlanta has
former Hawks coach.
Yeah, and that's another storyline that's very interesting. If you were able to read the article on The Athletic, it kind of talked about him wanting to leave Atlanta and them hiring Lloyd Pierce. It was an awkward divorce of sense.
Yeah.
But this series, Ralph, we're talking about matchups. This is going to be something that will be very key to see up. So how do both of these teams match up? Obviously, I think that the biggest thing is you're going to see Trae Young probably arguably be guarded by the best player he's been guarded by in the playoffs so far in Drew Holiday.
Yes.
Drew Holiday, a very good defensive point guard, can create offense as well. He's probably been the big turning point for Milwaukee. But I think the big thing for Atlanta, Ralph, is how do you contain or try to contain Giannis Antetokounmpo? For that, I think you're going to see a mixture of John Collins, who at least that he is somewhere near in the height range of Giannis. He is standing at 6'10".
Yeah.
But the biggest thing is what scares me, and I'll say this, the biggest matchup nightmare is going to be Brook Lopez, because Brook Lopez is a guy that has developed an outside shot. We all know that Clint Capella is a great rim runner, great interior guy. That's where he's going to struggle. So what are some of the matchups that maybe you think are going to be more interesting to watch? I mean, obviously Trae Young's got to be up there.
Honestly, the Trae Young, Drew Holiday matchup is going to be a fun one. I feel like you got a great defensive player and a great offensive player. The big one for me, though, is whose bench can outscore whose. Atlanta's bench has been very dominant with Gallinari coming off the bench. Lemon Pepper Lou, he's been dominant off the bench. Those two guys off Atlanta's bench are going to be huge in the transition for those guys to get some rest. They've got to step up. Now, the Bucks bench has been a little, not really there. I mean, so you got PJ Tucker, Dante DaVinci. I can't even say his last name.
He's hurt. DiVincenzo is out for the series.
Out. Okay, never mind. Bobby Portis. He's also one on the bench who could play a little bit. Now, he is not the big size center that you're used to seeing. He's only 6'10". I mean, that's very big. Don't get me wrong. Mm-hmm. But the Hawks just faced the guy who has a 6'11" guard. Sorry, 6'10" guard. This matchup's a lot different. You have a lot more athletic forward than you do Embiid. Embiid can is a lot better from the free throw line. So expect the Hawks to foul Giannis a lot. I just want to say that right now. That matchup, whoever is on Giannis from the off the bench, they're fouling him a lot. He's a 70% shooter from the free throw line, which is not very good in the NBA.
Yeah, it's not very good. I would love to shoot 70% from the free throw line.
I agree, but and my thing is, if the NBA, if you're in the NBA, you got to shoot at least 85%, at least.
You're the professional top of the game, unless you're Shaquille O'Neal. But I would say this too, Ralph. We may see, it's going to be interesting to see how that happens tonight, is Solomon Hill, who's more of a defensive first guy. He's not going to give you much on the offensive side. He may be tasked with coming in because you don't want a guy like John Collins to have 3 or 4 fouls in the third quarter. That's going to be something that they're going to try to exploit. The thing for me, and I'm going to point this one out, is the Trae Young, Drew Holiday. I think that this is something for me that this is going to be the best defensive point guard that he has faced all playoffs. Because you had Derrick Rose in the first round, and then obviously – Ben Simmons
is a great defensive player.
Yeah, great defensive player. We talked about that on Monday. He cannot score. But Drew Holiday, listen, and Holiday's had a rough go at it from this postseason and from beyond the three-point line. This is a Milwaukee team that doesn't shoot very, very well. So I want to talk about this because as we wrap up here and we just give our predictions, give me a reason Atlanta could win this series. What's going to have to happen for Atlanta to win this series? And what's going to happen for Milwaukee to win this series? And then your prediction.
Okay, for Atlanta to win this series, you have to outscore Milwaukee. Obviously, that makes that makes no sense.
You score more points, but yes.
Well, you have to beat them by scoring. You have to make your shots. You got to get to the line and make your free throws. You got to hit your threes. You can't be banking threes from the half court. I know Trae Young likes to do that, but you got to make smart shots tonight. You can't just be shooting lights out and or shooting every shot you think you have. You got to make your get open shots because this team's very good defensively. Giannis is one of the best defensive players in the league, if not the best. Drew Holiday is quick off the ball. He can make a move if the ball's in his hands and they're running down court. You expect Giannis is going to throw it down off alley-oop. And that's one thing you don't want to happen. You don't want a momentum shift in Milwaukee. Obviously, you have a very smaller crowd. There's only 17,000 fans in that stadium can fit in that arena. So scoring a lot, scoring often, and scoring early. You get on the board early and go up big. You put a lot of it puts a lot of depth in them. They're going to slow down. They're going to be kind of down on themselves, and Milwaukee really does not do very well in comebacks.
Mm-hmm. I think for Atlanta, for me, is going to be the fact, like you said, you're going to have to score with them, and also you can't focus so much on Giannis because it's going to have to be a play defense by committee. That's what you're going to have to do.
We're forgetting one person. Chris Middleton is still on that team, and he's one of
the
best.
And Chris Middleton's a very good player. I think that I would say not that Chris Middleton is an easy player to guard, but I think when you look and see what Atlanta has out there, what they're trying to do, Giannis is obviously the big one. To me, Ralph, I don't know if there is I don't think that you could say Giannis is a containable player. I think that's the problem. But I'll say this about Giannis. If you limit the transition baskets, if you limit him cutting to the rim and you limit the offensive rebounds, you're going to have a good chance of trying, and I wouldn't say contain him, but be even with him. And I think that's the best case scenario defensively for Atlanta. Now, flipping over to Milwaukee, what do the Bucks have to do to win this series? And is it just too cut and dry, just stay within themselves?
I think it's as simple as one thing. Stop Trae Young. If you stop Trae, you stop this whole offense. He is your number one scorer. He is your pass first player on the team. He's going to get open shots for some of these guys on the team. You saw some of the things he did in Milwaukee in Philadelphia and in New York.
Mm-hmm.
But in Philadelphia, he had a 7-foot forward against him, and he would go to the paint. Obviously, he can't go up with a layup because Embiid's on center and block it. Same with Giannis. Giannis going to be in the paint waiting on Trae Young. So you're going to watch a lot of pass outs from Atlanta. So Milwaukee's got to be on the watch out for a lot of quick passes, no look passes from Trae Young tonight because that's what he's going to want to do.
I'll say this about you were talking about Giannis on defense. If you do implement Solomon Hill, you relegate Giannis to almost a free safety type of role. He can just kind of roam around. I'll say this, and then we'll get into the picks. For Milwaukee, I'm much in line with you. You do what you do best. You should win this game, win this series. So I'm going to go first with this kind of the prediction. I'll hand it over to you. To me right now, Atlanta is battle-tested, Ralph. That's the big thing. Can you be battle-tested? When you give those young guys that kind of confidence and when they learn from their experience that they're going through right in this moment, it's a really dangerous weapon. And their confidence right now is through the roof. They think they can do anything. And like you said, on Monday, Nate McMillan is throwing fuel on the fire of that confidence. Mm-hmm. And honestly, I think the sky's the limit. Now you're saying, so Bryce, you're taking the Hawks? And I'm saying I think that this Atlanta team is just too – they still may be missing one piece. And I don't know if there's a piece in the entire NBA that can go and guard Giannis, Giannis, I should say.
He already faced him. That was Kevin Durant.
Exactly. But I think I'm taking the Bucks in. I'm going to go 7. I think that this matchup is a very, very even matchup. I think that the Bucks finally overcome that hurdle, but I think that it's going to be a fantastic series. Atlanta's going to put their name on the map. You're no longer in the lottery. They finished with they're going to have the number 20 pick. Woo. And like we said on Monday, Ralph, I think it's going to be a free agent destination. But I'm going for this series, Milwaukee in 7. I want to get to a comment because we had our good friend Zach Hawks in 4 over on YouTube. Zach says, but Ralph, for you, how do you feel about this? I mean, obviously Milwaukee has their weapons. You talked about the bench, Ralph. They haven't been used too much. They've been like a 6-man rotation. They're going to have to use more of that bench here in this series.
I agree. I mean, Gallinari's got to be huge this weekend, this week, this series in general. I mean, he's got your most size defensively, honestly, who has a little more quickness with him. Obviously, Clint Capella is your big man, but Gallinari's 6'10", 230. He's a thick guy. He's big. He's aggressive. He's not going to play soft. I just think Atlanta's missing one thing, and I feel like it's DeAndre Hunter. If they had DeAndre Hunter, I feel like he's way more confident. But I'm still sticking with Atlanta. I got Hawks in 6. But here's the thing. If they had Hunter and they had Cam Reddish, I'd say Hawks in 4.
They do have Cam Reddish.
Oh, he's questionable right now.
He just got upgraded to available. Should be available as of 15,
Hawks
as if we went live.
I'm dead on it. Hawks in 6.
As we wrap up, Ralph going Hawks in 6. I'm going Bucks in 7. I want to say this as we close out. It often comes down to this in the playoffs, Ralph. Does your team's best player outplay your opponent's best player? And right now, we talked about it, there's a lot more pressure on Giannis than Trae Young. Giannis is a 2-time MVP. He hasn't gotten very far in the playoffs before. This is crunch time for him. All of them, the whole Bucks roster right now is in their prime. He has to elevate to the point of being an elite player. And we know he's great. It's all saying, and if he doesn't in this series, they probably don't win. And it's going to be a mark against his name. And Trae Young and the Hawks we talked about, they're playing with house money.
Yeah.
So I'm going with Milwaukee, like I said, but I'm not thoroughly convinced that it's going to be easy. These teams are very evenly matched. When you look at the numbers, it's going to be a fun one. Like I said, it's not going to be a sweep, and I'm going Milwaukee once again in 7 games. But this has the makings to be a fantastic series, and it all starts tonight. But, hey, we talked about it, Ralph. We're just excited to see our Atlanta Hawks in the playoffs and part of this conversation.
I'll say this right now. If the Hawks make it to the finals and they're facing the Suns, you're looking at the future of basketball with Trae Young and Devin Booker, to me, is the next face of the NBA. Everyone, we've always had the, MJ, the Kobe, the LeBron, the Steph Curry. I know Steph Curry is still terrific right now, but you got to think who's the next young guy. People say Giannis. Giannis has been in the league for a while now. Devin Booker is the real deal. He shows you how great he is. He's playing with a broken nose last night. He's playing with a mask tomorrow night. So be terrified to watch that.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be interesting to see how this series plays out. There's a lot of young faces, and I think it's kind of refreshing for new fans of the NBA to see this Final Four that we have right now, Clippers and Suns. And right now, if that win last night Phoenix had, that's going to be tough for LA to come back. But they've done it before this postseason. Yep. They've got to do it against a high-octane offense that's going to add Chris Paul back into the mix for Game 3. True. Ralph, appreciate you joining us. We appreciate everyone tuning in. It's been a ton of fun talking to you on a Wednesday evening. We're going to be back on Friday with a podcast episode. That's where we take the shoes off, Ralph. We prop our feet up on the desk, and we have a little fun with it. It's going to be a ton of fun to talk a little bit podcast, still putting that topic together. But for everyone watching YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter, make sure to follow us over there at The Crowded Booth. And we appreciate it. Turn those notifications on, and we will be live next Monday at 7 p.m. For everyone, for Ralph and myself, we say so long. Until Friday on the Apple Podcast or Spotify or wherever you find us, or over on Facebook Live on Monday. We appreciate everyone. Have a fantastic week. And, hey, let's hope the Hawks have a series lead when we come back to you and talk to you.